Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to wait for some people to pop in here, getting that notification out that we started a live video. I'm super excited about today's guest. Her name is Raya Hapasha from America. She's part of the Circassian community on the East Coast. And Tina Stas, bring her in. She's one of our popular girls. She's so bright and smiley and lovely. So she's signed on. So I'm just gonna go ahead and invite her. There you are. Invite. She picked some great questions. So I'm super excited to hear her take on things and her opinion about Caucasian things. There she is. There's
Hi,
a smile. How are you?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. How are you?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. Oh, Raya.
Yeah, this brings back memories, dude.
Oh
I
my
remember
God.
just admiring you just on like astrology posts, and look at what you're doing today.
Oh my, look at us. Look
I
at us
love it.
doing this. Yeah, I mean, I'm all the way out here. I got the idea. I was like, what's stopping me? So
Seriously, I honestly I admire your drive. It's awesome.
thank you so much. And I admire your smile. I just, mashallah, love it. It's so bright. Like,
Well, that makes me happy. Thank you.
oh, I probably mentioned it 100 times. Every time I say mashallah, but
I
for
appreciate.
real, I mean, just the smiles is just so, I mean, I
Oh,
think it's just, it radiates. So,
it's funny because when I was a kid, like my life motto was change the world one smile at a time. So
oh,
yeah,
I love hearing about how people felt and what they thought when they were kids.
yeah.
So that's very sweet. And you do. I believe that you do. And I believe that your energy is very magnetic. You have like, I feel like everybody feels that when they look at your face. MashaAllah. Pooh.
Thank you.
Okay, Raya, tell us about yourself. Introduce us to anybody who doesn't know you, which if you don't know her, what are you doing? But yeah, let's get to know Raya. Just place us in Raya world, and then we'll get to your questions. Okay?
Sounds good. So hi everyone. My name is Raya Hapasha. My maiden name is Katao. So I'm a 31-year-old Circassian American living in New Jersey, part of the diaspora. I was born and raised in New Jersey. I did live in Amman, Jordan for 2 years. And before completing high school, we came back to New Jersey, and this is where I completed high school, went to college, and from then just like moving on throughout like my career and dabbling in different, I guess, industries and stuff like that. So right now I actually work at a lab that does like cancer studies and
Wow.
COVID-19 thing. Yeah,
Wow.
so it's an ever-changing world right now.
Right. Totally.
So yeah, that's basically what I'm doing. Don't
All
mind.
right. It's okay. No, 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 no. It's not awkward. I'm half expecting my youngest son to wake up screaming. So if at any point you hear that,
Sorry, we're
just
having
ignore him.
issues.
He's gonna be a singer when he grows up because
Oh, it's
those
okay. We need
pipes,
more artists in the
oh
community
my God,
anyway.
those pipes, dude. Okay, but seriously, if anybody hears him screaming, just pretend that it's not there. Okay, beautiful. So, I know you're like a dance group member for a long
Yes.
time. I think I've been seeing posts that the Narts Dance Ensemble just had their 10-year anniversary for,
Yeah.
what was it called?
It was New Dawn.
New Dawn.
Yeah.
Yes. So everybody's celebrating that. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Oh my God, thanks so much for bringing that up, actually, because that was probably one of the most, I guess, important shows to me as a dancer. I mean, I've danced literally like all my life since I was like 9 years old, all the way up until like 23-ish. So I literally danced all my life,
Wow.
and I've always been like immersed into the community. And I feel like my gateway was through dance, the first point actually. I remember as a little kid, my parents wouldn't let us go to the CBA for whatever reason. And I was like, and my neighbor upstairs, who's actually my best friend, she used to go to dance practice, and I would see her leave like 2, 3 times a week, and I'm like, Mama, Baba, like, where is she going? They're like,
Oh.
the dance group. I was like, all right, bet, let's do
What?
this.
There's a
Yeah,
dance group?
exactly. So then me and my brother joined, and since then, like, we just fell in love with it, and then my sister joined. So dance has always been a part of our lives, you know? So just seeing yesterday's anniversary with New Dawn being 10 years, I was just like,
So
wow, time
cool.
flies, you
Yeah,
know?
so cool.
Yeah, and that was probably one of like the biggest shows that I was ever a part of. In regards to like skill level, production, time, energy, everything that was put into it. So yeah, I mean, I think that was probably one of my favorite shows too. So
Aw.
just looking back into retrospect, it was really awesome. And then you see it come into full circle because now I'm on the dance committee at the CBA too. So seeing like the kids go through it,
Yeah.
I know like what happens behind the scenes, but now like seeing the kids actually go through it and enjoy it, it's like continuing a legacy.
Oh, so sweet.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
love it.
I think that our diaspora in general, I think all Caucasians, if we have one thing in common, it's our dancing, and it's just like we all speak that language. We all speak it. Like we all
Exactly.
understand it to some degree. We respect it. Like
Right.
it's just like that thing that I think we don't all speak the language, but we speak that language.
Absolutely. And I feel like it's a really nice segue into having it as like a common ground for all of us like within the diaspora.
Right.
Um, when I lived in Jordan for 2 years, I was part of the dance group Nada Jil, and I was actually introduced to, for example, like the Dagestani dance. So my dance instructor there, Yanal Hetk, he taught us Dagestani. And then 2 years later, when I moved back here, Buddy was my teacher, or Murad Peret, whoever doesn't know him by his nickname. Um, he put together a Dagestani dance. So I was just like,
Oh,
oh my God, you know, like, and it's just crazy how like I practiced it there, but it was kind of like similar, I guess, styles here. So, you know, it's
mm,
not like I really like, it's not like your placement matters. We're all still connected throughout the world,
right,
you know, so
right,
I
right.
feel like dance is a beautiful language.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, Gorgeous. Okay, so now that everybody just gets that Raya flavor, I'm gonna start with your questions because you picked some great questions. One of them is my new favorite, so I can't wait to get to that one.
Okay.
So the first question is, how is your culture maintained even with all the changes that have occurred in the world? And I think we kind of touched on that.
Hmm.
So if you had any thoughts to add to like the dancing, throw it at me. Let's hear.
Well, dance was a huge factor, I feel, in maintaining the culture no matter where you are throughout the diaspora. But another thing that I really uphold on like a high pedestal is our khabza. And for those that don't speak Circassian or understand it, it's basically like our moral code and like our ethics and traditions and stuff like that. So we do follow our certain communal or societal guidelines that keep us in check
Mm,
and keep us coming back to the community, acting right, being good people, being respectful people. So I feel like our ethical code and our khabza is really what keeps um, our traditions going and keeps us like to who we are, like to our core, you know, as Circassians or as Adiga.
right. Can I ask you, do you have, like, when you think of Adika Kabza, like, what's the first example that you would give? Let's say if somebody just, okay, ethical code, what does that mean? So, what's an example of our ethical code, our Adika Kabza that just
Yeah,
pops right into your head?
the first thing that pops up into my head, because there's a funny story behind this, is respecting our elders to the point where like when someone older walks into the room, we stand up automatically, right?
Mhm.
But it goes past that because like I find myself and like I see it happening because like if I'm at the CBA or like if we're at someone's house visiting, like you stand up even if like it's like a younger person too.
Mm,
You know, it's just like that symbolic acknowledgement that somebody is coming to greet you, and you reciprocate that respect by standing up and you greet them, right?
full
So
attention, right?
exactly.
It's like, I'm here, I see you. You know,
Totally.
yeah, beautiful.
And there's a funny story because when we were younger kids, like this is like 9, 10 years old. We were in the dance group, and I remember a bunch of us just sitting, hanging out, regular kids, playing cards,
Mm.
whatever. And the president of the CBA at the time had walked in,
Oh.
and like nobody stood up. And as soon as the president walked out, finished discussing whatever he needed to discuss with the dance teacher, um, he actually like made all of us stand up, and we stood up for the rest of the dance practice, which was like an hour and a half. And
Oh.
he was like, if you guys decide not to stand up for the 10 seconds to show your
Oh.
kabza for your elders, this
Oh.
is what's going to happen, like time and time again, until you guys understand that you must stand up and respect your elders.
Oh. Yeah.
So that's
You
just one example.
you never forgot that.
No, because our little legs were so sore
Oh.
afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's probably the one that I would choose too, as far as I think Kabza goes. Um, I haven't been to the CBA in such a long time, but
I
the
know.
memories are so vivid. Just Eid, any occasion, any event, anybody's
Right.
house, someone walks in the room, even if it's just a bunch of friends hanging
Right.
out at each other's house, someone comes and it's like, okay, everybody's up.
Yeah.
you know, it's kind of beautiful. We have that just understanding.
Right.
Okay, next question. What is a characteristic that describes your culture as a whole?
Um, so with this question, I was gonna piggyback off of my last point with like the whole respect thing.
Mm.
I do feel like it's actually like it's a hand in hand kind of thing. So it's between respect and pride, where you
Okay.
don't let the pride impede on the respect,
Mm.
but they work hand in hand with each other. As a Circassian, we are prideful people, right? And we're proud of where we come from, who we are, what we've been through, like our ancestors and everything through hardships.
Right.
If people are on this live and they don't know, just Google 1864 Circassian genocide,
Right.
read all about it, educate
Right.
yourselves. Although we are like a small indigenous group of people throughout the world, there is a significant history behind us and the
Right.
hardships that our ancestors endured and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So I feel like being on a pedestal where we hold ourselves to so much pride of who we are, and that's exemplified through dance, through cuisine, through the language, through our protests during the whole no Sochi thing.
Right.
When with the turnout of people coming out and fighting for that cause, it was just
Yeah.
absolutely amazing.
Around the
So,
world,
literally.
the whole world, every
Yeah.
Circassian was like, "Oh, hell no!" So,
I thought that was freaking awesome.
it was
Just to put your just to know that like I have Circassians brothers and sisters,
right.
like God knows where. And I'm just like, dude, like to stand next to them on the same cause, it was pretty cool.
Right. Amazing.
So I just feel like pride and respect, I think, are two huge factors in who we are.
Beautiful. I gotta agree. What culture besides your own do you admire and why?
Okay, so this one's actually really interesting. And I was discussing it with one of my friends yesterday, but I really find the Japanese culture to be super interesting. And
Okay.
I feel like it's so relatable to who we are as Circassians because they also have respect and like the importance of who their elders are and their
Mhm.
ancestors. It's like at the
Right.
forefront of their brains, right?
Right.
So I feel like the Japanese culture is very relatable in the sense of being Circassian because of that reason.
Mm.
Never forget your history, and just always put your elders on a pedestal.
Right.
Remember where you came from,
Right.
and what you do today affects who you are tomorrow, but it's based off of who you came from.
Right.
You just don't forget your lineage.
Right. And when you were talking about elders and ancestors and connecting the two, I feel like there have been, like, for example, movies that um I think as a community we all like to watch. We feel, these historical movies, we watch
Yeah,
them, we're like, oh my God, like we just really resonate with
so
the
true.
struggle. I had the amazing young man from Japan, Taiga
Yeah,
Nozaki, and he said the same thing. He said that the Bushido, which is I think the samurai code,
Yeah. Oh my.
is I know is so much like how he sees Caucasians in general.
Right.
And I've just felt like, oh, you know, because not to sound like just like a brat or anything, but like The Last Samurai, when I would watch that,
Stop. I
that
literally, oh my God, Albert sat me down literally like 2 weeks ago and he was like, Ray, you have to watch this movie. I was like, what is
oh,
it? And I'm like, what is it? He was like so gung ho about it. And he was
oh,
like, it's like one of my favorites for
it's
years.
so good.
And I'm like, what has taken me so long to watch this movie? It was so
I
good.
I know it's so
But
good. The
yeah,
the emotion, and then
yes,
I feel like the horses, the costume, the code. It's just such a good movie, and there's just so much in there that you could just compare and just be like,
right.
ah, our people,
Um,
and um, that's a good answer. I mean, the only other
yeah.
person so far that's had this question was Shan, and he
Okay.
also said Japanese
No
culture.
way. Oh,
Yeah,
wait, friends, how do I not remember this?
I mean, it was now it's been over a month ago, you know, but
Oh yeah,
for me
true.
it's all up here. But yeah, he said Japan too. So I felt so lucky to get Taega Nozaki's kind of perspective because
Yeah.
a Japanese person just like loves our culture, and
Yeah, right.
basically saying the same thing that so many of us have been saying forever now. Uh,
Yeah.
it's so cool. Um, Next question. How have you handled code switching between cultures based on your setting?
um,
Yeah.
so this one's like a tough question. I feel like being part of such a small community, you kind of have to be a chameleon.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I feel like by us just physically being white, right? Um, it kind of it kind of acts as a mask, if you will,
Big
in a
time.
way that like, okay, I live in New Jersey, I'm in America. People think of me as a white American, probably European. I
Right.
mean, geographically, you're not wrong,
Right.
but there's just so much more to it than that. And I remember as a kid always being asked, "Oh, what are you?" And I would literally say, "I'm Jordanian," or "I'm Russian," or
Mhm.
and I would completely sideline the fact that I'm Circassian until like I started growing up, learning about my history,
Right.
and actually seeing how much depth and layers there are to this.
Right.
And I actually took it upon myself to now, when someone asks me the question, where, like, what are you? I go through the history and say, well, do you have about 5 minutes?
Yes.
We're going to go through a history lesson right now.
These 5 minutes are gonna change your life. Have a seat.
Exactly. And by the end of these questions, I like by the end of these conversations, the people are always like, wow, like we didn't even know this stuff happens in the world, you
Right.
know? And it really is just about exposure. So code switching between like between like who I am and where I am and stuff like that, I can be a chameleon where I can use my whiteness to my advantage, right? Where I can assimilate a lot easier, or, I don't have to go through certain struggles that other people have to just based off of how they physically look,
Right. It's
you
it's
know?
true. I mean, it's to me, I find that an uncomfortable truth,
Right.
but I know that for our people, it's especially in like America or Europe, not the Middle
Mhm.
East, because we stand out actually
Right.
in most of the
Exactly.
Middle East, but it's a security that
Right.
we have. So,
And you actually brought that point up one time in one of your posts. I think it was on your normal page before this project started.
right.
And it actually like it was one of those things that go ding in your mind, and I was just like, "Oh my God, like what are we doing?"
I
So it's
know.
kind of like, a brain teaser.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole thing about being actually Caucasian.
Hmm.
And I feel like you're so right about that, about being a chameleon. I think personally, I mean, I put a headscarf on. I was 16 or 17 years old.
Right.
And I'm like every Circassian girl. I don't have anything different about my coloring or whatever, but I think there was something inside that made me want to stand out.
Okay.
And
I
I
love
think
that.
besides just like the whole like, oh, I'm Muslim and I want to wear a headscarf, it was like
Right.
actually, I want people to be like, where are you from? And did I get that question?
I love that.
Ooh, till now, even in Turkey, you know, they're like, you don't make sense. Like, what's going
Really?
on here? Yeah.
Wow.
So,
I
but
love that.
out
I
here, when you say Cherkez, they're like,
yeah.
you know, they're like, cool, you know, everybody. My grandma's Circassian. This is Circassian. I'm like, yeah, I'm one of
That's
them.
awesome.
Yeah. So for me, I feel like it's just always been a thing. But I think you're right about benefiting from our skin tone. And it's kind of amazing because when you talk about race and you read about race and you learn about
Right.
race, you learn
Yeah.
that it is made up, you know,
Yeah.
depending on what part of the world you're in. Like
Right.
I've heard and several accounts from people from the Caucasus saying that there's a lot of friction between like Caucasians and
Oh wow.
like Russian people because they
Yeah.
can tell the difference.
That's
So
crazy.
yeah, there's just it's like we're white here, we're dark there. It's just like, so what is it? You know?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. But handling that code switching with grace and just being aware of it and using it for good, I think is the most important thing about filling that such a special niche in society where you can just be a little bit of everything.
Right. Yeah. That's actually beautifully put.
Thank you. I think about it a lot. a lot more than probably most people. Okay, Rai, next question. Do you have a memory of being engaged in a cultural setting that you remember feeling so deeply happy in that moment?
Yeah. Okay, so this was my first dance performance when I actually had moved to Jordan. We put on a performance in Jarash. It was part of Maharajan Jarash at the time. And I mean, as a kid growing up, we've always performed at like, you know, local stages at our community center, local festivals, everything like that. But there was something about this performance, I guess, well, number one, it took me out of my comfort zone because I'm in a completely different country.
Right.
I mean, we've only visited like Jordan, Syria, Turkey, wherever we're all from, like for summers as an American kid growing up. So we would go on vacation, visit our families. But now, like, being that I reside in Jordan and this is my new home, it was definitely a trying time. Don't get me wrong, I made plenty of friends over there. You know, to this day, still friends with all my friends over there.
That's awesome.
But there was just something about being pushed to your limits when you're not in your comfort circle, you know? And there was an audience of, I think they said it was about like 6,000 people at the time. So it was huge. Yeah, exactly. So it was definitely the biggest performance I've ever been a part of. And, you know, just going on that stage, and it was also like the vibes of like the amphitheater being like you're in a historical site, and just portraying our dance, you know, to thousands of people, and some of which were like foreigners, Arabs, Circassians, like it was just a mix of everybody, right? And I just felt like I was so deeply rooted within my culture that day, and so proud to be able to like exhibit and portray it to everyone and say, hey, I'm Circassian, you know? So it was actually really, really cool. And to this day, I mean, I still get butterflies just thinking about the whole day and the period of time leading up to it. It was just awesome to be a part of, you know?
Like a dream, right?
Yeah.
You're like on another plane. Just, I mean, I've never performed for that many people. I've only done a couple performances, but 6,000 plus people is just madness. That's so cool. That's
yeah,
so
you just
cool.
pretend like they're not there, so.
Yeah. Beautiful. That's so cool. I mean, honestly, I didn't even know. I can't even recall knowing that you actually lived in Jordan for a couple years.
Really? Okay.
That's I'm learning so much just like on the fly right now. And you know, being abroad, and I can relate to the experience of not being in your comfort zone. You know, moving does that, and it forces you to grow and like, who am I outside of the context of where I've always thought I was. So that's really cool that you just got to do that. And I always tell my husband, I'm like, if I was younger and we didn't have kids, I would have joined the dance for sure.
Seriously. Oh my, I saw your post about you dancing with Kabardinka. I thought that was so awesome too. It was so I'm like, ugh,
I
the
know.
opportunity.
I know. Um, I have to thank them because it was that night with the dancing and the music and just, woo, it was just like everything came rushing in and I'm like, I have a page idea. Like I have to just do this. So
That's so great.
just started the wheels turning.
I
Oh,
love
thank you. Ramazan said you can still join. I
it.
know, it's just duty calls. It's so hard to just leave these. They're so small, you know, and I
Yeah.
don't know, dance practice, and it's just such a commitment.
Who knows? You maybe you'll see Dance Through Them.
Yeah. Oh, I would love that. I would. Okay, and this is my last question.
Okay.
And I do absolutely love this question. I was so proud of myself when it's like a paragraph. It's like 5 questions in one, but I love it. Okay, so quote,
Okay.
"We are our ancestors' wildest dreams come true." What does this phrase mean to you? I'm just gonna read it, and then you just kind of, what innate impulse or personality trait do you have that would make your ancestors proud?
Mm-hmm.
And what part of your life do you think their prayers for the future have been answered in you? Oh, I love that.
That question. There's so many layers to it too.
I know. Just whatever
You
comes to your head.
know, okay. Like looking back in time, if our ancestors were to, use a looking glass and see what we're doing today, I honestly think that they'd be pretty proud of who we are, only because we've come so far along. We have so many educated members in our community, right? So many professionals in all walks of life, all industries. I think that's awesome, from like IT to medicine to the arts. So it's really crazy to see that although we're not in our homeland and like our people were like, there was a caste system. So we had like the working class, we had the royal class, we had, all that stuff. So from something to be so structured to what now is, we're exploring, we're now expanding our horizons, I think they'd be really proud as to where we've come along. And a lot of the people now who have quote unquote made it,
Right.
I see that there are a lot of people that give back to their community, right? And they do help out a lot, whether it be through employment, whether it be through resources, whether it be through, just guidance at this point, So I feel like that's where they would be proud of us.
Awesome.
And can you repeat the other two parts?
Yeah. And then what do you have, like a personality trait or something, just an impulse within you that that you think personally that your ancestors would be proud of? And then what part of your life do you think their prayers for the future would have been answered in you? So make it about you. Basically.
I don't like making things about me.
It's okay. You can do it every once in a while. It's good to be uncomfortable every once in a while.
You're putting me on the spot here.
Yes.
Well, I want to say one of my personality traits or characteristics would probably just be like my positive energy. You kind of said it in the beginning, setting the stage for myself, but I just like to radiate positivity and approachability too, being that like, if I walk into the CBA, I don't want people to think like, oh my God, like she has such an attitude or she stank, for example, just somebody to be able to approach, have a conversation, feel comfortable enough to say, hey, like, how are you doing? And stuff like that. And I actually find that a lot like in the kids at the dance group, where, if you're in a position of being like a dance teacher or a committee member, anything like that, you're in a pivotal position right now to be influencing lives, to be influencing the future generations.
Right.
So that's why I feel like it's really important to check yourself and to be very like aware of what you're putting out into the world, So that's probably a characteristic trait that they'd be proud of me for. At least I hope so.
Right.
Whoever's looking down at me.
No, I think so. I think not just them. I think probably your parents and everybody who can share that they're connected with you. I mean, it's such a beautiful thing. I mean,
Oh, thank you, Noor.
I have a post from not too long ago. I think I mentioned this in a previous thing, but I'm just going to keep saying it because I
Yeah,
feel like it's so important, about basically making goodness attractive.
right.
And
That's so
it's
important.
a Mr. Rogers quote. You know, I love him. I know he's so cute.
Love him.
So he said that that's the hardest and most important task you'll ever have. And you know,
Right.
I it's easy to say that why don't the youth want to be connected to culture? Why don't the
Mm,
youth stick to
right.
traditions? But at the end of the day, is it the youth, or do they have an idea about their culture, their tradition that, you know, was that they used to look at and they're like, this is not like cool. This is like,
Right.
it's not approachable. It's not,
Right.
you know, friendly. Like you have to attract in an
Mhm.
attractive way. You can't like
Right.
repel people and then say, oh, why don't they want to be
Exactly.
part of this thing?
Right, exactly. And my mother-in-law actually taught me a life lesson, right?
Okay.
And it kind of piggybacks off of that idea that you were just saying. She related it to family, but you can also kind of spin it toward like your community and culture too.
Right.
That everyone has like this invisible rope that's tied around their neck, right?
Okay.
And you can only go so far out before you hang yourself, right?
Oh,
And you always use that rope to come back to where you're from, to come back
right.
to your roots, to come back to your family, whatever the case is that you're coming back to, what you're tied and connected to. So the same thing applies to, I guess, our culture and our community. You go so far out, you're going to hang yourself or you're going to be in something that you can't come back from,
Right.
right? So that's why I feel like it is always important to be connected to your roots, connected to your people in whatever capacity fits your lifestyle or fits who you are as a person,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So
That's I've never heard it put that way. So on from, you know, from my behalf, thank you to your mother-in-law. I mean, that's a very interesting way. I'm going to be thinking about that
yeah,
to kind of like, you know,
it
um,
really puts things into perspective.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's very that's a hell analogy. I it shows the seriousness of it. You
Yeah,
know, a
it's a
rope
nugget
around
of
your
truth.
neck is not comfortable, right?
Right.
So you don't want to go out too far. You're like,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
So that's very interesting. For me, oh, it's her smile that makes you love the
Oh,
course.
Ness.
I agree. No, I mean a smile or a frown. You know, like you were
Right.
basically saying stank. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we all know stank people, and it's
Right,
like
exactly.
they scare me. I don't want it.
It makes
I
you want to
don't
walk
want
the
to
other
say.
way.
Yeah, right. And like you were saying, if you have, you know, if you have a role where you can help people or influence people, and you're not just like, you know, come,
Yeah.
yeah, let's do it, you know, like maybe that's not for you.
Right.
Because it's important. It's important.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. Um, that's thank you so much, Raya. This has been so fun. The comments have been great. Everybody came out for Raya. So
Oh,
yeah.
I
So
appreciate everyone,
I
really.
thank you for trusting me. I know you were actually, guys, I messaged her so early on and she was like, oh, I don't know what I would say. I don't know. And I was like, Raya, like, come on. But she came back. So I'm happy we got to do this. See, everyone's so excited. See that?
Oh, I'm so
Yay!
happy. Wallah.
Look at all those hearts. Okay, beautiful. So thank you so much for taking time out to talk to me, to share your thoughts, to share that sparkly smile,
Thank you so
mashallah.
much for having me, Noor.
Of
Wallah, this is an
course.
honor.
Of course. If you know anybody that you think, you actually have recommended a couple people at this point,
Yeah.
but
I
if
have a
you
few
have,
more in mind, too.
all right, send them over and I
Yeah.
will get to bugging them in the DMs.
Okay, great.
Get ready, guys.
I love
Coming
it.
for you. Okay, thank you so much, Raya. I hope you have a great day.
I do. I hope the same thing for you, too. And thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Thank you for coming on. All right,
All
Yella.
right.
Take care.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.